So Iran, the Islamic regime of Iran, executed a famous youth champion wrestler, not American wrestling, real wrestling, a wrestler of their national team. They executed him for participating in the protests. Iran executes 19-year-old champion wrestler Saleh Mohammadi, two others in horrific public hangings. What they do is, of course, they hang these people, they execute these people publicly. So in Iran, if you get in trouble, and if the government really wants to get rid of you, this is the guy. This is the guy, a champion, a wrestler. He protested against the government, against the Islamic regime. He got arrested for participating in protests. Iran executed a 19-year-old champion wrestler in a public hanging Thursday, along with two other people who were arrested during the brutal crackdown on anti-regime protesters in January. Saleh Mohammadi, a rising star from Qom, was allegedly tortured to confess to the capital crime of waging war against God. Aha!
Heard that one before.
Aha!
Sounds like, I don't know, sounds like a surah, maybe surah 5. Let's just pick an ayah at random, 33.
33?
533.
33 makes sense.
And guys, you don't understand, like, this is like really, I don't mean this. I mean how sick and evil this has been for decades. After every terrorist attack, ISIS, all that stuff, we would hear back in the day, oh, but these guys aren't real Muslims, because Islam says if you kill a man, it's as if you've killed all of mankind. So Islam is against killing. And what did we say? We said, read the entire verse, which says that this was for the children of Israel, because it's a quote from the Talmud. And then we say, read the very next verse, which gives all these punishments, execution, dismemberment, crucifixion, for the vague crime of making mischief in the land or waging war against Allah. How do you wait? And they'll say, oh, this is talking about war. It's how do you wage war against Allah? Go to your commentaries. By opposing Sharia, by disagreeing with anything in Islam. And so here you have Western politicians, tons of them, and you had Western journalists, tons of them, all quoting verse 32 of chapter 5, saying, see, Islam's peaceful and tolerant. It's against killing. The very next verse is used by Muslim regimes to kill anyone they want. They just say, yep, you're waging war against Allah.
Quran chapter 5, verse 33. Indeed, the penalty for those who wage war against Allah and his messenger and strive upon earth to cause corruption is none but that they be killed or crucified, or that their hands and feet be cut off from opposite sides, or that they be exiled from the land. That is for them a disgrace in this world, and for them in the hereafter is a great punishment. This is what the Quran says. The penalty for those who wage a war against Allah and his messenger. So the Islamic regime, when it executes this man for protesting, is executing him directly based on the rules of the Quran, because he waged war against Allah simply by protesting the Islamic regime, because the Islamic regime is basically like the proper representation, the proper house of Allah on the earth. And if you protest that, you are basically waging war against Allah. That is what you're doing. Similarly, the caliphate in the past was considered the righteous lead, the righteous rule. And if you protested against it or fought against it, you are waging war against Allah, which is why you deserve to be killed, according to Islam. So Islam says if you wage war against Allah, you're supposed to be killed. And how do you wage war against Allah? By causing mischief in the land, protesting, opposing, spreading corruption, blasphemy, stuff like that.
Keep in mind, they can kill any protester just based on this vague crime in the Quran. That's why we pointed out it is dangerous to have these vague things. Oh, if you're waging war against Allah or causing mischief, hey, that woman over there isn't wearing a hijab. What's she doing? She's spreading mischief.
against Allah. With the teen executed without a fair trial, according to human rights groups. He was executed. He's 19 years old, and he was
Champion wrestler.
executed for waging war against Allah. His execution was a blatant political murder, part of the Islamic Republic's pattern of targeting athletes to crush dissent and terrorize society, Nima Far, a human rights activist and Iranian combat athlete, told Fox News. Mohammadi, along with fellow protesters Mehdi Rassemi and Saeed Dawoodi, were accused of killing 2 police officers with knives and swords during the January protests, according to Iranian state media. Despite appeals from the US, the protesters were found guilty and executed by Tehran. These are the typical excuses with knives, with swords. Yeah, and they got swords. They got swords and killed police officers.
Yeah, cops got guns. These guys came up with their swords.
Following mass arrests during the January protest, President Trump said he was reassured by Tehran that the executions would not take place, claiming to have saved the lives of some 800 demonstrators and such and such. But Tehran denied that and rushed through the defendants' trials after the US and Israel waged war in Iran. Amnesty International slammed the executions, alleging that the men were denied adequate defense and forced to make confessions. There is no proper justice there. You can't expect to actually be heard and have real justice at play. If you cause trouble, you are to be killed under different circumstances because you wage war against Allah. The executions come as the solemn-looking Iran's women's soccer team returned to their home country Wednesday. This is also what happened over the last week, where the Iranian women's football team women were refused to sing the national anthem, and were then threatened, and then decided to appeal for asylum or apply for asylum in Australia. But they started being threatened all over the internet and by the state. So they allegedly Australian authorities know about this, that they were being threatened directly and pressured by the Islamic regime. But the Australian government, of course, didn't do anything about it. They were given asylum, and then after much pressure and threats against their families, the women went back to Iran. Not sure what's going to happen to them now. So this is what's going on. This is what's going on in this horrible, horrible place ruled by evil bastards. Here you have this guy talking about how they were building nuclear missiles or nuclear weapons.
فعالیت هسته‌ای شدیم واقعا هدفمون ساخت بمب بود دیگه ما تعارف که نداریم
یعنی شما میگید هدف ساخت بمب بوده واقعا
100%
هدف کی این بوده یعنی
کل نظام یا همه اونایی که این فعالیت رو شروع کردن واقعا هدف ساخت بمب بود کاری که شروع کرده بودیم و دیگه می‌خواستیم کار خب بیرون شما اگه میتونستیم اینو حفظش کنیم و بمب آزمایش می‌کردیم کار تموم شده بود مثل پاکستان ما که شروع کردیم بعد آخرش
حالا اینه که شما میگید میگم چون ما تا حالا رسمی خیلی نشدیم کسی این صحبت رو کنه اینا که شما میگید تبعاتی نداره مثلا مذاکرات و اینها به عنوان بالاخره کسی که
ما توجه نداره
با خارجی بالاخره پیدا میکنن.
This is Speaker of the Iranian Parliament who says that they've always had the plan to build nuclear weapons. Anybody who understands a little bit about the nuclear enrichment also knows very well that their intention is to build nuclear weapons. They want to push it to such an extent that for which there is no use at all, except military purposes, for which there is no civilian use at all. That's what they want to do. That's what America is trying to stop. And I kind of wish they explained it a little bit better to the public, but that's literally what America has been trying to stop.